Welcome to this episode of Next Gen Leadership, Solutions for Today's Police Supervisors. On today's episode, we're going to talk about mindset, and we're going to look at this through two different lenses. On one hand, we'll look at those who are in non-supervisory roles and how identifying with a rank can sometimes stifle the ideas and thought process that will get great ideas through an organization. On the other hand, we'll look at those who are in leadership positions and how their mindset can allow those ideas to get through and be facilitated through the organization. My name is Reid, and not only will I be your host today, but I'm also a 15-year police veteran and the founder of Reid Training Solutions, a training company specifically designed to empower leaders like yourself and elevate your overall performance. So when we talk about mindset, let's look at the example for the non-supervisors. And let's look at an example of an officer that goes to a training and they see a great way to implement a peer support team within their organization. Well, sometimes an issue comes up when an officer simply identifies as an officer, somebody who's not a supervisor and is incapable of making decisions within their organization, which isn't true, but sometimes that's the thought process. So if you are watching this video and you're not currently in the supervisory role, or you are in a supervisory role, but you're a little lower on the totem pole, just know that you can have great ideas and get them through the chain of command. But what that's going to require for you is a little bit of preparation. So what do you do when you have a great idea, but you're not in a supervisory role? Well, number one, you have to be prepared. You're going to have to identify somebody in a leadership position that you can bring this idea to. But simply just saying it, for instance, hey, I think we should have a peer support team here, probably isn't going to get the job done. And also what you need to recognize is if the idea hasn't been created or hasn't been discussed yet, it's probably going to not happen anytime soon unless you facilitate it. Now, arguably, you could be thinking to yourself, well, that's not my job. And I would say you're correct. That is probably the job of a lieutenant or a captain and above to generate and facilitate these ideas for the organization. But again, if it hasn't happened already, maybe it's on you to ignite that fire to get that idea through. So what can you do? Identify somebody in the chain of command that you can go to with the idea. Develop a 5 to 7 minute presentation with facts, figures, and best practices that you can take to them. And number 3, be willing to receive some feedback. It's great that you took the step to identify an issue within your organization. You came up with a solution for it, and now you've identified a leader. You came up with a presentation, but it may not be a perfect idea. Maybe there are some things that you haven't thought of, such as where will the funding come from? Who's going to facilitate this? Who's going to run the program? So be prepared for those questions. And if you don't have the answers, we're going to go back to the drawing board. So always remember, if you're in a position where technically you don't have the greatest decision-making authority within the organization, you can still bring great ideas as long as you don't just identify with your own rank. So how about those of you watching this who are in leadership positions, who have the ability to make decisions and bring new things into the organization? Well, number one, when somebody brings to you an idea, be selfless. Don't worry about who's going to get the credit or the kudos or how this can benefit you in your next promotion. Once people get an inkling that that's really what you're in this for, the ideas are probably going to stop coming to you very soon. So step number one is be selfless. Step number 2 is identify the fact that that young person who brought that idea to you, that took a lot of courage. Now they're going to need some molding and some mentoring to actually get this idea to a workable state where it can actually work for your organization. Now I also want to make a note that not every idea that comes across your desk is going to be a great idea. And you as a leader have a buffering system and a filtration system to where not every idea needs to get implemented. So you may need to send this person back to the drawing board or simply tell them, hey, we've tried this in the past, it didn't work, here were the reasons, but be open about that process. So as we review a little bit here, number one, if you're a younger officer, don't just simply identify with your rank. Know that you can have great ideas that get facilitated through your organization, but it's going to take some work. You're going to have to plan, prepare, and be willing to go back to the drawing board. And those of you who are in leadership positions, be selfless. Take this idea, try to mold it, have a mentorship relationship with the officer, and see if you can make something work. And don't worry about who gets the credit for it. It's all going to work out in the end. The goal is to have that idea benefit the organization. Well, that's going to end today's episode. I want to thank you for tuning in. And as with every episode in this series, we've taken a very large topic and shrunk it down to a nice bite-sized chunk for you. But if you want more information on this topic, when this video ends, I want you to go right to my website, reidtrainingsolutions.com, and I want you to book a call with me and my team, so we can get a training out to you and your organization on this topic or any of the other topics that we've covered in this series. I also want you to follow Police One and stay tuned for more episodes of Next Gen Leadership, Solutions for Today's Police Supervisors. Thank you.